What is going on, everyone? Phil here. Welcome to DSPReacts and welcome to my review for episodes 4 and 5 of the Last of Us TV series combined. And the reason I'm doing this is because this is me catching up now on the show. The actual newest episode aired tonight, which I'll be reviewing tomorrow. But last night, I caught up on the show and watched 4 and 5 together. And let me tell you something. I'm really happy I did because episodes 4 and 5 of the Last of Us show actually tied directly together and basically constitute an entire story arc, not only of the game, but of the show itself. And they were much better watched together than separate. And what I mean by that is, if you have the opportunity to watch this show, I strongly recommend you will watch 4 and 5 back to back. If you split them up, you're actually going to kill some of the momentum of these episodes. So that's my recommendation, all right? Episode 4 picks up right where episode 3 left off, where Joel and Ellie had just left the gated community of Bill and Frank. They had looted all of their stuff because Bill and Frank had passed away, and we're now in a car, or a truck I should say, driving along the road, trying to head out to Joel's brother's place. His brother's name is Tommy, yes, just like the game. The difference here is that they don't actually start to look for Tommy until much later in the game. In here, this case, apparently they're already headed that direction. For whatever reason, I think they kind of wanted to give more of an explanation of why they're driving the direction they're going. I don't really recall that happening in the game. But basically, this is almost, episode 4, almost shot for shot taken almost directly from the game. The entirety of the episode almost, with a few additions that I'll mention. For example, them driving together on the road, joking with each other, getting to know each other. Ellie has the pun book, the infamous pun book that has a bunch of lame jokes in it, and she basically breaks down Joel over the course of the episode with these puns to make him laugh. At first, Joel's very hardened to them and not laughing or thinking anything is funny, but over the course of the episode, as they spend more time together, camping out, eating food, making coffee, going through town, surviving or whatever, they become almost more personable, and this is where their relationship really starts to become almost that of a father-daughter relationship, with Joel being kind of the surrogate dad to Ellie because of the loss of his daughter earlier on in the storyline. Very interesting. And again, a lot of lines, I swear they took line for line out of the game, or they're very similar. This relationship is very well acted and very well done. Now, the action picks up once Joel and Ellie finally arrive at a city. And when they arrive at a city, it seems like everyone's leading them, everything in the city is set up to lead them to a certain point. They get to this certain point and they happen to see a survivor limping as if there's something wrong with him, covered in blood. Help me, help me. Joel is smarter than this. Immediately realizes this is going to be a setup. And so he tries to get out of the way of the guy, but then all of a sudden they're ambushed. They have to drive off the road. The car gets basically kind of wrecked. And now Joel and Ellie are fighting for their lives as these people basically ambush them and try to kill them. Almost, again, very representative of what happens in the games at this point, okay? Now, if I remember correctly, in the games, it's a little different because they're fighting tons of waves of enemies, and here it's just one small group. So, the interesting part about this is the first time that Joel realizes that Ellie is not just some kid to protect, because Joel gets into a bad situation, and it's Ellie who actually saves him this time. And it's actually also the first time we see Ellie commit any kind of violence in the show. She has to sneak up behind a guy with a gun that she actually stashed with her, unbeknownst to Joel, back at Bill's. She uses that gun to save Joel's life, and now Joel kind of starts to realize, has this self-realization, oh wow, it's not just about me. Maybe I should trust this girl. Seems like she knows her stuff. She even admits to Joel this was not the first time that she had to commit violence, although he does pry into her later and ask what she means by that, and she won't answer him, okay? Again, very similar to how this comes out in the book. Only difference, they've removed all of the gameplay. There's no sneaking through a whole city by this group of ambushing survivors. They don't have to kill tons of people. It's basically 3 people that they end up killing who tried to jump them, and then they're moving on. Now, one of the additions in this episode is there's a new group of survivors, and I don't know if they have an official name. I missed that. But basically, they're a group of survivors that originally, when Fedra, which is the government agency that was rounding people up from their homes, quarantining them, isolating them at the beginning of this pandemic, when Fedra was doing this, this was a group of survivors that didn't agree with this and were basically trying to rally against it, almost like a group of people who were rebelling against the order. And you find out about the group of rebels because there's a woman interrogating a man in like a metal container. Come to find out, this guy used to be their doctor, but apparently this doctor was working with someone who had betrayed the rebels. And over the course of this episode, you find out these rebels hate Fedra employees, that the Fedra employees really, they felt that they were mistreating them, and they found a way to basically fight back against the Fedra employees and overtake this town, okay? This ties into another plot line from the game, the plot line of Henry and Sam. Now, for those who don't remember, Henry and Sam are brothers. I think in the game he was supposed to be either like mid to late 20s or early 30s. Sam is his younger brother. They're African American, and in the game, they're survivors just trying to make do. In this show, they've changed their role. They actually used to be members of this rebel community, okay? But for some reason, they're outcasts, and the rebel community is after them. The leader of the rebel community, who's this woman, keeps saying that Henry had, I guess, betrayed them and killed her brother, who used to be, I guess, the leader of these rebels, okay? This is different. None of this was in the game at all, okay? In the game, basically, it's Joel and Ellie surviving, and then they just happen to encounter Henry and Sam and start teaming up with them to survive for a while until the plot advances. There is none of this plot line with these other group of survivors called the Rebels that are anti-Fedra, and nothing about this plot line with Henry and these rebels. So it's all different. So you see these rebels constantly during the course of the episode. They're basically looking for Henry, and they don't know where he is. They're interrogating this doctor. They're trying to figure out where the hell is this Henry, okay? Then they get word that 3 of their patrol people are dead. Come to find out, it's the 3 people that Joel and Ellie killed. So now, not only are they looking for Henry and Sam, but now they're looking for Joel and Ellie as well in the city. So basically, Joel and Ellie are outlaws in this city, and they have no way to drive through because their car's wrecked. So they're just trying to figure out a way through, and they don't know how to get through. So over the course of the episode, there's more bonding between Ellie and Joel, and by the end of the episode, they're basically camping out in an office building, sleeping, not knowing where to go next, and all of a sudden, they're woken by Henry and Sam, who have them at gunpoint, and that's the end of episode 4, okay? So, the episode is good because, number one, it further establishes the relationship between Joel and Ellie, almost becoming like a father-daughter deal, which is nice to see that relationship grow, and a lot of callbacks to the game, many direct references to the game. I feel like the way that they directed it made sense. No, you don't need to have them go through a city killing dozens and dozens of these rebels. Instead, just have them kill 3 and then same effect, and you don't have to have an hour of gameplay. So, good way to cut out the gameplay. The rebel group, did they really need to be in the show? I think what it is they wanted to find a way to tie Henry and Sam into the plot in a concrete manner. It didn't necessarily make that much sense to have them because they take up a lot of the episode, yet once I talk about episode 5, you'll understand they really don't have that much to do with the plot outside of this very 2-episode arc. So, I don't know. I not that I didn't like the directing, not that I didn't like the story or the acting. It just felt kind of like, now I got to learn about another group of survivors that really aren't going to tie into anything, Episode 4, I liked. I didn't like it necessarily as much as episode 2, but it's probably up there with the episodes that I liked in the series. Why? Very close to the games. Okay? Episode 5, this is where it all goes down. So in episode 5, a million things happen. First of all, Henry and Sam have Joel and Ellie at gunpoint. They then reveal they're not there to hurt them. They just found them. And now they're hoping that maybe they could talk with them and figure out who they are and team up. So you find out that Sam, the younger son of Henry, is actually deaf. Now, he was not deaf in the video game. He's also much younger. He's only 8 years old here, and I believe in the games he was a few years older, so he was closer to Ellie's age. But that doesn't stop Ellie and Sam from hitting up a friendship, because, they're 2 younger, kids, and, how else are you going to have that kind of, childlike mentality? Obviously, Ellie's not going to have that with Joel. So they do become friends, and even though Sam can't talk, he does sign language, and he actually has a board that he writes on around his neck that he can use. I forget what they're called, because I used to have that same exact board when I was a kid. It's a piece of, plastic paper over this black kind of material, and when you write with it's like a stylus. When you write with it, it actually will write, and then you can clear it off by lifting and putting back down the piece of paper again. I forget what it's called. It's the same premise of kind of an Etch-a-Sketch, but a little different. But anyway, it's cool. The 2 kids hit it off. Henry and Joel start talking. Come to find out, Henry knows the city. All right? He says, I'll lead you through the city, but I'm not a fighter. I'm not someone who commits violence. My problem is I want to escape, but I can't kill people to get out. Joel, you seem like you're efficient. If you do the fighting, I'll do the directing, and we can maybe escape together and get the hell out of this city and away from these rebels that are out to kill both of us. Okay? That's kind of interesting, because that part is not part of the plot of the game, but it's a good reason for them maybe to team up. Okay? In the meantime, this group of rebels are out to find them and kill them. And there's several times in the course of the episode where they're trying to track them down and they're trying to escape and things like that. Eventually, the group, Joel, Ellie, Sam, and Henry, end up in an underground area that is definitely a part of the games. It's this underground settlement in the sewers that actually was like, must have been a haven for the humans when the outbreak happened 20 years ago. There's all these writings on the walls that are from children. You could tell definitely the children were taken care down there by like almost a community daycare. This is directly lifted from the games, but there's a distinct difference. In the games, you go down there and you investigate and you get a bunch of items and stuff, and then all of a sudden the infected break in. And now you've got this long segment where Joel, Ellie, Henry, and Sam have to fight off a ton of infected, and they end up having to leave there because it's so overrun by the infected. Okay? That never happens in the show. In the show, this literally is a moment that serves as a breather moment to kind of catch your breath between them kind of escaping stuff. And it's then that Henry talks to Joel and actually reveals the reason why Henry is on the run from this rebel group. It's kind of interesting, and the writing here is good. I actually like this plot line. So basically, Sam, who's deaf, also had leukemia. Henry wanted to save his life, but not everyone really has leukemia drugs in the apocalypse. So they were actually settlers that were in the rebel group. Okay, they were with this group. And I guess Henry had access even to the leadership, like they trusted him. Well, someone came to Henry and said, listen, we will save your little brother's life and give you the leukemia drugs if you murder the leader of the rebels. And he did it because he wanted to save Sam's life. And apparently he did because Sam was alive, so I guess the leukemia drugs worked. But because of this, the rebels now hate him and want him dead. I mean, he killed their leader, and he's been on the run with Sam ever since, okay? So that's the reason why Henry's on the run. It's a pretty good, interesting twist written into the story. I like that. Then, basically, the big culmination is, again, a scene from the game that's completely changed. So it has all these scenes from the game. It's got the underground sewer settlement. It's got this, do you remember in the game, if you played the game, there's a scene where all of them are walking down a road together, and all of a sudden a sniper starts shooting at them. Come to find out, this is a whole trap by bandits, and what they need to do is like kind of go back and forth across this road as people are sniping at them, take out other people trying to kill them, get into the building with the snipers, take them out. It's a big segment of the game, and then it gets kind of exciting because also there's some infected that show up during this segment, and it leads into a big plot point. Well, they've changed it all. There is a sniper in the road. They get to that road, and basically Ellie, Henry, and Sam are the distraction while Joel goes into the building. Come to find out, there's only one guy in there who's a sniper. Only one. And Joel tells him, listen, I don't want to kill you. Just put your gun down and pretend like we're not here for an hour. The guy turns and tries to attack Joel. Joel has to kill him. It's sad, but what can you do? But then a walkie-talkie call comes in, and on the walkie-talkie, it's the rebels. He was working with the rebels all along, the sniper. Now the rebels know because he's not answering. Oh, that must be where they are. And the rebels show up in giant full force to try to take out Joel, Ellie, Henry, and Sam. It's a big culminating moment where now the leader of the rebels, this woman who was the sister of the former leader who was murdered by Henry, shows up with her big, military guys behind her and a whole group of people. And it looks like they're all going to die. And then all of a sudden, something that was never in the game happens. I don't know what this was, if this is a new plot point or whatever. The ground opens up, and hundreds of infected come out of the ground as a horde. An actual cordyceps horde. That was never in the game. Very interesting. Now, a giant roided-looking cordyceps zombie also comes out of the ground, and he looks like, is he supposed to be the bloater? It's not apparent because he's not fat per se. He almost looks like a giant bodybuilder type, roided giant zombie. And he starts tearing through the rebels. So obviously, our heroes use this opportunity as a distraction to try to escape, and they do. Joel is sniping, and all of them try to get out of there, and they're being attacked by monsters and zombies, and they fight them off, and they all escape. In the meantime, this zombie horde wipes out the rebels that were there, and that's the end of that plot line. I mean, the leader, the sister's dead, all the military, it just eliminates them from the show, basically. And it's totally crazy. Because you never expect it. Like, that was never in the game. Like, what just happened? So it's kind of a weird wow moment. And I can imagine people who are watching this who don't, never seen this before, like, whoa, that was neat and interesting and crazy and scary all at the same time. But that's not the end of the episode. The episode ends with all of them going to a hotel. Joel, Ellie, Henry, and Sam. They actually now say, well, I guess we're free of the rebels. They're all dead. So what are we going to do? And Joel makes the offer to Henry, why don't you come with us to Oregon to meet up with my brother Tommy? And they all agree. And that's where it would have been a nice happy ending. However, those who played the game know this is not a happy ending, because what happened was during that giant altercation out in the street with the sniper and all the rebels and the infected, Sam was bitten. He reveals this to Ellie when they're in private. Ellie says, don't worry, I will be with you. I'll stay up all night with you. The weird thing about it, there's a weird scene where she thinks her blood may be medicine, and she literally cuts her hand open and bleeds on the wound of Sam. It's really weird, because that's how it works. You know what I mean? Like, maybe she thought maybe she was magic and it would work, but that's not how science works. Anyway, predictably, just like what happens in the game, Sam turns overnight, attacks Ellie, and it is Henry who takes out a gun and shoots Sam. Then in a panic realizes what he's done, and yes, just like in the game, Henry takes his own life. The episode ends with Joel and Ellie burying Henry and Sam. Ellie just very desperate to get the hell out of there. Okay? So, that's episodes 4 and 5. Crazy plot line there, because it is the entire plot line following Ellie and Joel becoming more friendly, almost like a father and daughter. At the same time, it's the entire plot line of Henry and Sam, but it's like massively accelerated to be under 2 hours. When in the game, there's all this time for this stuff to be fleshed out and take a much longer time. I appreciate the attention to detail, leaving in the pun book and the puns and the relationship of them kind of laughing at each other and being almost like the odd couple. I appreciate still leaving in the moments from the game. For example, the underground, sewer area with all the writing from the kids and stuff. The actual street from the game where they get sniped at looks exactly the same as it is in the game. But so many differences. The whole rebel group that was not in the games whatsoever being thrown in as a new factor, and all these new characters you're introduced to, just to have them wiped out of the show within a couple of episodes. And then the tragic ending of Henry and Sam as well is pretty much plays out almost exactly the same as the game. So pretty nuts. I liked the episodes. In fact, I thought they were insanely good. I thought that they were well directed, well acted. The writing made sense for them to do it. I mean, the only thing that, if I want to nitpick, the two things that were a little annoying. Annoying thing number one, that whole rebel group really doesn't matter. I mean, they weren't in the games. They didn't need to be in the show. They very easily, instead of having that whole rebel group, it could have just been Henry and Sam were survivors. They run into Joel and Ellie. They run into a bunch of infected. And then, it could have been done differently. And maybe even had an episode where they all spend time together and get to know each other better. And then it's even more tragic when Sam dies, because now you got to know him much more. I mean, yes, you get to know him over about an episode, and he's definitely a likable character. But the fact that it's just so fast where we met, okay, we're going to help each other. Oh, already it's the end of the episode, and he's already, it's already over. As opposed to maybe them having a little bit more time to develop, because they spend a lot of time on that rebel group just for them to die by the end of episode 5. It didn't even matter, okay? So I do have to criticize that a little bit. The zombie horde, though, that threw me for a loop, because that was not in the game. And I was like, wow, I guess there's going to be zombie hordes now. Because, that was not anything. I guess they're rewriting. Again, episode 1, they rewrote the zombies to be more cannibalistic. Now they're turning them into zombie hordes. It seems like they really wanted the zombies to be more relatable to what we know about modern TV show zombies, like from The Walking Dead or movies. They definitely made the cordyceps zombies more similar to the zombies we know. All right? But it was fun. For me, I loved the 2 episodes. I think so far this is the best arc. I like this better than the first episode. I like this better than episodes 2 and 3. I think this was the best arc of the whole show, 4 and 5 together. Okay? Now, I don't know where the plot goes from here. I know all the things that happen in the game, but it's interesting to see their take on these different things they're doing. I have no idea where they're going now. So, it's just Joel and Ellie on their own, apparently heading towards, Tommy's settlement. And that's it. So, I like episodes 4 and 5. Actually, so far, my favorite episodes of the entire series. Different from the games, but different for interesting reasons. That doesn't kind of crap on the game's lore or make the game seem like it's unimportant. In fact, it's cool that they have all the callbacks directly to the things that happen in the games. Really enjoyed it. All right, guys. So here's the deal. I'm now caught up on the series. The next time I do a review, which will be tomorrow, I'm actually watching a brand new episode. So my next review will be of the newest episode, episode 6. Thank you all for watching up to this point. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.